Hey, this is the Hard Truth, Tony Shaffer, powered by 6 Hour Never Settle. I had a choice of what I carried in combat. I always carried the best. Best 6 Hour. I recommend you carry the best. This week we're featuring one of my favorites, the SIG 220 10mm. Now I know they have the new 320 10mm. It has a few more rounds, just saying. But if you want something that hits hard and is fun to carry and very accurate, I highly recommend the 220 because I do carry this. This is good for critters and bears. And so if you're hunting bear in your pajamas, like certain people do, if a bear gets in your pajamas, this is what you use. Just saying, you know.
You never know.
You never know. So, and we're continuing on with our introduction. We are on the America Out Loud, America Out Loud Talk Radio Network, also available on the America Out Loud Podcast Network. Check us out, Project Sentinel, projectsentinel.com and .net. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, etc., etc., etc. And always a shout out to our friend Cherie Curry. I'm wearing her t-shirt today. For those who are watching, Cherie does our bumper and cover music. Cherie, we love you. She's always probably out on the road somewhere right now, so it's always great to have her joining us in spirit, although she's not here. So today, we're joined on The Hard Truth with my friend, neighbor, and fellow warrior, Laurie Buckhout. Laurie is a retired colonel from the U.S. Army. By the way, the Army is the best. Just saying. I mean, despite some of the things, we're taping this on Veterans Day, close to the Marine Corps birthday, and I've had to explain to people I love the Marines, except I hope they get over their crayon fetish someday. That they can finally start using like computers, like the rest of us. But baby steps for baby people. Just so, Laurie, welcome to The Hard Truth.
Great to be here. Great to be here.
So Laurie is on the show, not only because she's a colonel, which is a cool thing to do. I like colonels, most of them. Well, a few colonels I don't like, and they don't like me, but it is what it is. Thank you. Well, that's good. So it is what it is. But in this case, Laurie is unique, not because she's a colonel, but because she's actually running for office. So she's actually running for office here in North Carolina. In Edenton. We live in Edenton.
Yes, sir.
That's some topicality for you. Come visit. It's a great place. It really is a cool place. And Laurie, you're going to be running in a district which has been controlled pretty much since the Civil War, after the Civil War, by Democrats, right? So tell us first off about yourself.
Great.
Colonel. She's a colonel in the Army, the same Army I served in, for better or for worse. We served in very different areas, just saying. So Laurie, go through your kind of career, and then we'll talk about the first district.
We had some fun. So I was commissioned as second lieutenant in 1984. I grew up in Virginia in the Shenandoah Valley in a very small town, very much like Edenton. So I'm a country girl. We moved there after my dad retired when I was a young girl. He was also career military. And fun fact, my mother also served in World War II with him, but she was Army Air Corps Flight.
That's very cool. I love the Army Air Corps.
Yeah.
We should never have given up the Air Corps.
I know. Yeah, good call. So they were both a couple of warriors, and I followed their footsteps, served all over the place. Married, have two kids, little boys back then, who are now 21 and 24, two boys, who are great conservatives, I must say. So in spite of woke craziness, we have raised them right, and we are very proud of them.
Somehow, I guess you didn't put them in the public school system and hope for the best, like a lot of people do.
No. You got to watch that homework, Mom and Dad. Watch that homework when it comes home, because it's crazy. So I went to combat as a battalion commander, started out with 600 troops, ended up with a task force of about 800, did the ground war 2003, 2004, and came back, went to the Pentagon, did some good things there. When I retired, they asked me to come back again and help them with some very unique things we were doing to stop soldiers from getting blown up by IEDs on the roadside bombs. And did a whole lot of work with that. Sold my company in 2019. Couldn't wait to get the heck out of Northern Virginia and come down to God's country here in Eastern North Carolina. So moved down here as soon as we could. Loving it. North Carolina's first district. And as you said, it has been Democrat controlled for quite some time. We're definitely ready to flip that. People are tired of crazy policies. The economy is a mess. The border's a mess. We need to bring back prosperity to Eastern North Carolina, help the farmers, help bring industry, and help the families here and defend their rights instead of all the illegal aliens coming in.
Well, let's talk about your career a bit more before we go to the politics of the local area. So the Pentagon, I've always found the best thing about the Pentagon is when you're driving away from it. So,
amen, brother.
So,
amen.
so she's being a bit, I think, a little bit shy about the fact she did the IED stuff. So the IED defeat program, which was something that I was aware of because some of the things I was doing for the Navy at the time, I was assigned to the Pentagon working for the Navy's internal think tank, Deep Blue, about the time you were doing the IED defeat stuff.
Yep.
And we were looking at technologies back then that could be essentially.
I worked with them.
They helped protect me when they asked me to go over to Capitol Hill to ask for money for them. That was always interesting. An Army guy asking for the Navy to get money, but that's a story for another day. But my point is that some of the things you did at the Pentagon during that time were, I guess, suffice to say, controversial by the fact that you were trying to break new ground and use new technology, which nobody, I would still argue, fully understands, and trying to break through bureaucracy, which essentially is it's very granite-like bureaucracy. So tell us a little bit about what that was like.
I got to tell you, I got really good at that. I don't mind being a disruptor.
That's good.
And you know, yeah,
no, I like that. I like
spirit, brother.
Yeah.
No, when you know, we talked about that. I don't mind being a disruptor and breaking through bureaucracy.
Right.
Something I really got good at. It was kind of a joke that I was probably, probably the most fearless colonel in the Pentagon, because I didn't care if I got promoted or not. I had 2 young kids, and my family was important to me. What was important was taking care of soldiers, and we very much share that, and getting the right thing done.
Right.
So I wasn't beholden to anybody. The Army Chief of Staff would roll his eyes sometimes and be like, "Oh, here she goes again." In fact, on my retirement ceremony, the Vice Chief of Staff of the Army, General Corelli, gave me, and I still have it, gave me a dictionary, and there was a pink sticky on the inside, and I opened it up during my ceremony, and there was a big highlight around the meaning of the word no. And it goes, "Colonel, one day you'll learn the meaning of the word no, but you never learned it here, so good luck with that." So yeah, we got a lot of good stuff.
That's a good sign for what you're going to be facing regarding
right.
both the local politics as well as national politics. So let's talk about the 1st District. So because this is my radio show, The Hard Truth, I can do whatever I want, which is always great, right?
Yep.
So this is why we're diverting to politics. Did you know we had some interesting people on recently? My friend Ted Nugent was on with us. So no offense, you're no Ted Nugent, just saying. So anyway, and Ted, if you're out there, you should. And Ted, we love you, really. We're going to be doing a special with you. I think we're doing a special for Christmas or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So, but my point being is that within the context of the local area, this place is very traditional, I guess, right? Would that be accurate? I mean, there's kind of a, I don't want to say it's lethargic because it's not. There's a great energy here. We have the Outer Banks, we have Dare County, we've got Currituck County, a lot of things going on. But the direction of things has been kind of going in the same direction, you know, and you all know in the audience, we've talked about this before. My dear friend, the late Walter Jones, was one of my friends and mentors. Well, he was. Walter, I retired in Walter's office. So I could tell you about that. So that was a great story. But Walter and other colleagues, Butterfield, I guess, was the guy before, right?
No, he was actually in the adjacent.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So So basically, North Carolina, Eastern North Carolina, had just kind of a way of doing things, right? Well, they're gone now.
They are gone.
Butterfield's gone. Walter's gone. So it's a time of change and a time of opportunity. And frankly, at this point, since the 1st District is being reorganized, and I don't want to get into all that because that would take a whole half an hour to explain, but you're going to be walking into the lion's den, right? I mean, that's what it is, because you're talking about decades of tradition where most of the counties you're going to be having to convince people to vote for you have been voting for the Democrats for a long time. So how do you think you can approach it?
You know, I tell you, so the redistricting, though, I'll touch it a little bit, expands this district, right?
It does.
It brings in some more traditional Republican voters. But frankly, there are a lot of Democrat voters in it. It's now probably 50-50 Democrat-Republican in terms of historic voting. But, you know, I will say the biggest issue is that the last several years of Democratic voting have not brought prosperity. It's brought
well, that's clear.
It's brought poverty. It's brought inflation. It's brought a huge swell of illegals. There are now 8 million documented illegals in the country that we know we have, and the population of North Carolina is about 10 million. So I mean, you know, they're almost as big as we are. So and we have a bunch in North Carolina. So things have become so bad under Democrats that I know a lot of independent and undecided voters are going to vote Republican because, frankly, we can do things better. We run a country better. We can bring prosperity. We know how to bring money to a community. We know how to bring peace, get rid of crime. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a great flip.
So that's part of my question. It's philosophical as well as direct to you. Why is it the Democrats vote against their own interests so often? Because I'm truly baffled by this, and I consider myself really a reasonable conservative. My first vote when I turned 18 was for Ronald Reagan.
Me too.
So yeah, and I remember this from I was just out of high school or in high school. It's my last year of high school, and I remember the debates between Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. And I'll never forget the moment I decided to vote for Reagan. It was a moment when Jimmy Carter was asked about nuclear proliferation and issues relating to that. And he said, I turned to my daughter, what's her name, his daughter?
I don't know.
Amy. I turned to Amy and asked for advice. Like, you're asking someone my age for advice on nuclear weapons? I don't think that's a good idea. So it's like, yeah, I don't think I'll be voting for you. But my point is that Carter and others really seem to always put this friendly face on all their stupid decisions. And it seems to me that rhetoric, while noble, we want to actually protect people. It's really, I think, another form of enslavement.
It is
hidden within the bureaucracy which exists in the federal government that actually kind of ties people to a certain stream of misery. I'll just say it that way. And so how do you think, how will you message through that to try to convince people to start getting on the program of voting for their own self-interest?
You know, part of it is you have to look locally, and there are a bunch of nice folks who are Democrats, in this race, and they're
misguided but nice, yes.
And they're nice.
They are,
but they're voting against their own interests.
Yeah.
There's a Democrat politician, I won't say his name. He put forth a bill, helped sponsor a bill to bring almost $2 million of commerce to this district. Mm-hmm. Some Republicans liked it too and hopped on it. And so when it got up to Congress and it was voted on, the Democrat caucus voted against it because too many Republicans are on it. Guess who joined that vote? The guy who sponsored it.
Yeah.
The Democrat who sponsored it.
That's crazy.
Because they're going to vote with crazy. And
that's crazy.
And that's the problem. And crazy is against the interest of the people in North Carolina. So the issue is not that somebody's not a nice guy. Nice people out there. But I got to tell you, you know me, I'm not always nice, but I'm tough. And I like to get stuff done, and I like to take care of people. So I think what we need right now are people who tell the truth. Yeah. Conservatives who will tell the truth. Say, look, this isn't good. We got to clean this up. I'm not going to walk around grinning and saying how great this is. I'm going to say we're in the middle of a fight for our country, and we got to take it seriously.
Well, that's the thing. So I agree with you, and I've mentioned to you before, and I think the audience knows I'm friends with Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi, I was actually, I do too. And so I was, many of you guys know now that I was advising Tulsi long before she left the party. And the reason was, I think she and others recognized there were going to be real issues relating to the bifurcation of reality within the Democrat Party.
Great way to put it.
And so that's the next thing I want to talk about is the fact it's not only the Democrats that vote against their own self-interest. We're talking about a lot of folks on the conservative side who I've watched, many who I've experienced. I've been in a room with members of Congress. There's some very interesting discussions, which I will remain to leave on the sideline for today, but some of you've heard about them. I've seen that certain Republicans, and one of the examples, most bright examples was one I was personally involved in, was Congressman Davis, not your Davis, another Davis, from Northern Virginia, was my representative when I became a whistleblower. And it was interesting because he was literally, I had to go talk to him during a time they were having hearings on whistleblower law.
Oh, man.
And it was so interesting because as I was going in the back room behind the hearing space to meet with him personally, he was literally out trying to create legislation that would make it harder for whistleblowers to come forward. And by the way, there is no real protection for whistleblowers, just saying. I don't care what they say about all this other stuff.
You're right.
If it wasn't for Mother Army, I wouldn't be here today because Army decided go do what I did. Anyway, that's another story. Oof. But my point being is that during this time, Laurie, he was out literally speaking in high-minded terms about how we don't need whistleblowers, they'll damage things. Coming back to meet with me personally saying, how can I help you be a whistleblower?
What the?
It's like,
what the?
What?
Yeah.
So the duplicity of many politicians is something a lot of people have a hard time dealing with. So how are you going to overcome a perception that, hey, some politicians may not be telling the truth?
You know what? I think a lot of politicians are beholden to other people for money,
That's true.
for influence, et cetera, et cetera. So I've made my own money, right?
That's true.
I started my business and then I
true.
sold it.
Yeah.
So I have made my own money. I'm self-made. I didn't pay myself the first year and a half I was running my business, and most small business people know that. So
That's good.
I understand business very well. So I made my own career. I made my own money. I don't need money. I don't need fame. I'm not beholden to anyone. And I think that's the most important part, is to elect people of integrity who are beholden to no one.
Mhm.
And I'm also in favor of term limits, right? Because you got folks like,
Boy.
I mean, Joe Biden, has he ever been anything but a politician?
Well, these other things, but we can't talk about those on here.
I mean, well, you know, things that
Certain
things
showers
that
and
land you in
certain
jail.
people.
Oh my God, is that it's just so disgusting. I can't. But you know, so he sells himself as nothing but a politician, and of course a lot of the other nefarious things in the background, perhaps. But
We could talk a whole show about Biden,
oh my
which we probably
shows.
Yeah.
So I'm
I
not.
met Joe Biden. You know that?
Did you?
A couple times.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, but keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt the story.
That's too bad. But I'm just saying. So you have to have politicians who are beholden to no one,
Yeah.
right? Of course, the only folks you should be beholden to are your constituents. Right. And you and I have led soldiers. We know what it's like to be beholden to your soldiers.
Yeah.
And you know what? Okay, here's the thing in the Army: mission first, people always.
Yeah.
So your mission is to take care of your people and to get the job done. And your people are always the foremost thing in your mind. And that's just how we operate. So that's how I feel about the people of Eastern North Carolina. And I wish every politician felt that way, that rather than, you know, getting millions of retweets on X or whatever it is now, that you're worried about taking care of your constituents.
So speaking of that, I think one of the things that's been lost in many of the circles that you and I run in and others observe is the fact that I think a lot of us here kind of know what a woman is.
Oh man.
Right? I mean, am I wrong? What?
I'm a woman.
So, but there's strength in being a woman. I mean, you know,
I love my unique strength.
So again, going back to this issue of the national debate or discussion on what is a woman is like, I think it's pretty easy to figure out.
It is nefarious, and unfortunately, it's getting in the minds of our babies.
And that's where I was going with this.
Our
exactly.
very, very youngest, and I'm very much against all this transgender craze. Of course, you know, the Dems always cloak this in these gentle words. Oh, we have to care for transgender children. No hate for transgender children. No, let's not turn them transgender with your crazy ideas in the first place. Let them be children.
Yeah.
I was a tomboy growing up, you know. I love
a lot of women I know
trucks. Yeah, a lot of Army girls are tomboys. And I'm just so grateful I got to keep all my original parts, and that I had parents who were normal.
Parents should encourage the original parts till they're 18. By the way,
bingo.
Last time I checked, how old do you have to be to have a gun as a kid, right? You have to be 21, right? So why was it we restrict people from having a gun, but you can cut bits off?
Tattoos,
think about that. Think about that
stuff. Right?
So you can't have a gun. You can't defend yourself till 21, but you can cut your pieces off. I'm serious. I mean, this is how wackadoodle, to use a term of art, this all is.
But again, this is what you said about the well-meaning Democrats and
it's well-meaning.
Oh no! It's all cloaked in well-meaningness, but it's actually nefarious. It's evil. It is so dangerous. And okay, I just want to say real quick.
Yeah,
you're going to end up with kids who are sad, sterile, will never have children. You know, and so they're going to grow old by themselves. They'll never have a family. And mothers and dads aren't thinking about this when they get all excited to have a gender reveal for a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, so that's
thinking about the sadness that lies
that's
ahead.
part of my point. And as I mentioned, Cherie Currie and my other rock and roll Hollywood friends who we talk to and are friendly with, and this includes Susan Olsen and Jen Bellstar Mathias from England. We've had this conversation a number of times.
Yeah.
Women are women, and women should be treated with respect. The idea then that you're going to have trans women
that's not a woman.
come into women's sports, to women's activities, and say, to me, that's sado. How do you say that? Sadomasochist?
Masochistic.
Masochistic. Yeah, there you go. She's got the word. I don't.
say it.
So to me, that's ultimately men infusing themselves into women's issues. I find that completely disrespectful.
And women so-called celebrate that. Women of the year are no, they're men in a dress with a lot of good makeup. Why? Why do you do that to yourselves? You're just demeaning the idea of womanhood. And people think, and moreover, it's kind of like a cosplay. You have these guys who's like, I'm celebrating girlhood. And then they go out there with this idea that all girls wear pink, have long fingernails, and they prance around and they mince around and they wear a lot of makeup. I mean, it's a demeaning.
It is
idea. It really is.
And so, just for the record, look, I'm a big believer in equity, right? I mean, as a matter of fact, I recommended the Army go to kilts as kind of the uniform of the day because everybody wears skirts.
That's because you got good legs, baby.
Yeah, well, thank you. But obviously, they rejected that. Just saying, they went back to the Army uniform. I don't know why. I don't know why.
I have good legs too.
No, I've been to parties where I've worn a kilt. So Thank you. Yes. Well, but my point being is that there are equities within the context of military service that should not be messed with. And the idea somehow that and I have had to suffer the bane of being in command of something and having people have medical issues. The big issue, and I'm saying this because I do have gay and lesbian friends.
Sure.
I was one of those that always supported. I did the survey back in 2010 when they said, "Hey, how do you feel about gays in the military?" It's like, look, I've always been here. Why do we care?
I had gay guys in my first platoon in 1985. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. Soldiers are soldiers.
And so I went. It's like, yeah, whatever. But there's a divergence between gays and lesbians serving in the military as part of the defense and joining the military for purposes of becoming transgender.
That's right. So, I actually heard from somebody who was an insider in the Pentagon about 2 months ago that they were with the G1, that's the Army's personnel folks, right, in a meeting, and the deputy G1, the deputy leader of all the Army's human resources, stood up and said, you know what, our recruiting is so bad, but here's a way to get it up. We appealed to transgenders that they can come in the military and they can get their surgery for free. Then they'll get their 4 years of medication or whatever it takes to keep them transgender, because that's a lifelong. I know. That's a lifelong medical experiment, right? I mean, right out of, anyway, Mengele. So then after they retire, after they get out of the Army, they can go to the VA to get their ongoing hormone and surgical care. So they become a lifelong burden on the taxpayer to keep their gender, all their sex change stuff going, and you recruit them. But here's the deal, and you know this, they are non-deployable.
No, I know. That's my point about the drugs.
You can't.
I had people who had issues relating to diabetes.
Yeah.
Issues relating to certain glandular that had nothing to do with transit. It's like I'm literally deploying folks forward. It's like, oh, I'm out of drugs. Like, you need to get on a plane and move to Germany. Because I'm not going to be able to get you drugs in some fire base in the middle of Afghanistan.
Folks like that, I'm like, you're non-deployable, and because you have a chronic condition, we're going to have to chapter you out of the Army, because if you can't go to fight, you don't belong in the Army.
Right.
Long term.
So speaking of more serious things, so when is the Army going to start then financing for soldiers breast augmentation and penis enlargement?
I tell you what.
I think that's the next thing, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, so why not? I mean, if a man.
I'm serious. I'm completely serious.
Too. So if you think about it, if a man can go and get fake breasts on the Army's dime and call himself a woman, why can't a woman go get fake breasts on the Army?
Exactly.
All plastic surgery.
Where's the line? There's no line.
I mean, it's madness.
It is madness.
Just absolute madness.
And of course, how does this affect in any positive way readiness for combat effectiveness?
It degrades it.
It degrades it. Thank you.
People are not able to fight. Already, recruiting is a crisis because America's youth are just not ready for this. They're overweight, or they have other issues. They have drug issues and stuff like that.
Right.
Then you add the transgender madness, and it's like, wow, we need a whole lot of work to get America's youth back.
So, but this is just a microcosm of the larger policy issues, which I think we all have to go through and be honest about. And that's one of the issues that I think is going to take is like that we cannot be. I mean, look, I love gray. Gray's my favorite color. I'm a retired spy, so I love gray.
He does love gray.
It is the nature of what. But for the purposes of politics and what you all need to do regarding redirecting and reestablishing a positive course for not only the military but the overall American culture, you have to be painfully, dare I say it, the hard truth. You must use the hard truth to redirect and reestablish a positive direction for culture, right?
You do.
And I presume that you'll be doing that as part of your effort.
So I feel very confident. I've already had some discussions with Republican leaders in Congress that if I'm elected, when I'm elected, I'd be delighted to serve in the House Armed Services Committee.
Oh, great place. I've testified before.
I know you have, and I've testified for the subcommittees there, and I feel very confident about my ability to educate my fellow Congresspeople on what it takes to really serve in the military, what important programs are, what you need funding for, and what you don't. Because there's a whole lot of stuff being wrapped into the military now, like transgender health care. No. We don't need to be funding that. There's a lot of other things we need to be funding in defense budgets that are good for people, right? And frankly, can send commerce with defense dollars to the right places where you have a ready work environment, a great economic environment, and a lot of citizens ready to get to work.
That's wonderful. So no, I think it's a great agenda. So we're about to wrap up the first half. So I understand you have a gift from me.
I do have a gift for you. I do have a gift for you.
I was hoping it was a gun, but no.
You look great in red. I'm sorry, it's not a gun.
Yes.
There's, check that out.
Look out for Congress. This is a nice one too. It's actually got buttons.
It does.
She presumes I can button.
I do, and it's like, you know, I know you're always out doing PT. You're always running, and so this will feel good.
Does this help you do pull-ups?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't help me do pull-ups, and maybe you. It probably does because you can already do them. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Laurie. This is great. So,
my pleasure.
Colonel retired Buckhout for Congress. I presume it's you, not your husband.
No, that's me. Now I got to tell you what this joke going around. I really like it. So somebody says, you know, your new campaign phrase needs to be "get the buck out."
Well, we'll talk more about getting the buck out in the second part of our show. This is the Hard Truth with Tony Shaffer, part 2 coming up. We'll be right back after this break. Hey, this is the Hard Truth with Tony Shaffer, part 2. Still powered by 6 Hour, never settle. I had a choice of what I carried in combat. I always carried the best. I recommend you carry the best. The best is 6 Hour, never settle. You better get one as soon as you can. And we are on the America Out Loud Talk Radio Network, also available on the America Out Loud Podcast Network. And check us out, Project Sentinel, projectsentinel.com.net. And then we're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and all the other social media. And we're back with Colonel retired Laurie Buckhout. What were you saying about buck out? Get the buck out of town or something?
Get the buck out. Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
We're gonna get the vote, the buck out.
So she's running for Congress. She's going to go through the primary coming up, I guess.
Yep.
And then hopefully in the general, the 1st District of North Carolina.
Yep.
So here we are talking about all sorts of issues relating to service, to sacrifice, to the direction of society, culture. We were just wrapping up talking about military issues and some of those things that overlap into our everyday lives. And one of those areas, which I'm sure the team is going to jump into, is the fact that Democrats don't necessarily vote for their own self-interest. Yeah. And so much of what has happened, besides the cultural Marxism, which has been inflicted on folks, I'll just say it, I'm sure I'll get in trouble, but it is what it is. The cultural Marxism, which requires that the left reconfigure our entire fabric of the republic, which I don't think is a good idea, going on the record saying that.
Yep.
It actually damages because they use so much of politics for the economic policies as well. Now, the economic policies of Joe Biden, the Bidenomics, I mean, yeah, it's like Bidenomics.
Self-harm.
That's like saying Dr. Kevorkian is the lead surgeon of the economy. It's like,
here's what I think about Bidenomics, Tony. Here's what I think about Bidenomics. I believe that Joe Biden's being set up to fail and lose and not run in 2024. So his handlers are trying to get him to tout Bidenomics, which has now become a joke. And he sits there, Bidenomics at work. It's pretty good, you know. And I'm telling you, it's right. It's incredible. And people are going to make fun of him for the next year. They're going to try to slide in either Michelle Obama or Gavin Newsom for 2024 and see what happens then, because he's going to humiliate himself.
I think Jesse Waters was talking about that recently too. There's like so many different people I see on Fox News and on Newsmax. They say they've actually gone out and asked people, has Bidenomics helped you? And so many people don't even know what Biden is. Like, what's that? Well, you know, there's this guy in the White House who claims he's the president. Like, yeah, I know who that is. But it's like, Bidenomics hasn't helped me. And I think they even did a survey recently. It's like, has your average spending, your groceries, your day-to-day living, has Bidenomics helped you in any way? And there's like, no. And it's like, so, but I love how when Joe Biden gets up and of course, he's squinting. He's talking about Bidenomics. I didn't even coin that term. Somebody else did. And then he can't even remember what he was saying on like the next sentence. But he's like, it's working. And then he loves to say, and that's not hyperbole. He says that in like every single speech. And it's like, why does he feel the need to say that's not hyperbole?
Well, there's one reason for that, Elizabeth. It's because we're at an inflection point.
Oh, yes. And I love how he describes an inflection point. Yeah, my math teacher said it when you take a 90-degree turn on the highway and you can't get back. It's like, who the hell takes a 90-degree turn on the highway? And anyway, he's just lost his mind. But yeah, they want to push him to 2024. And I'm sorry, go ahead, Tony. Yeah.
No.
A 90-degree turn on the highway. What is he, racing Dick Dastardly in the wacky races? Come on.
Right.
Chris, I feel your inflection point.
I feel your pain.
Section class. Feel your pain.
He's scary. Hey, you guys remember the Crypt Keeper from Tales?
Yeah.
He's the Crypt Keeper. You see that picture, man. He looks just like the Crypt Keeper. It's getting scarier every day.
I think a Weekend at Bernie's, where they keep propping up the dead guy. And I think that's what they're doing with Biden. Biden's not really, everybody knows. I think anybody with even half a brain knows that Biden is not running the White House. It's probably Obama, George Soros, the Hillary Clinton. But they just prop them up.
Jared and Susan Rice. So, but on that point, real quick. So before we move, my friend and former Congressman Congressman Weldon, long before this became public, Joe's nickname in the Senate was Quid Pro Quo Joe.
Yeah, that's true. That's not even a joke.
Yeah, they shortened that. Yeah, they shortened that to Quid Pro Joe, but that makes sense. No wonder this guy failed 4 times to become president beforehand. I mean, he was a 4-time failure. Usually it's 3 strikes, you're out. I guess in cricket it might be a little. No, I'm just kidding. But
yeah,
absolutely true. But how did he get so rich? Yep, Quid Pro Quo Joe.
Yeah.
All right. So, anything else, Elizabeth?
Oh well, not so much about Biden, but as you know, Laurie, from Virginia, just this past week, the Republicans should have had a major sweep, but oh my gosh, the Democrats won so many things in Virginia that they should. It doesn't make sense to me. But like 2 days later, I tell you what, Babylon Bee I love their satire. They had an article said Republican Party checks themselves into rehab for their addiction to losing. I thought, oh my gosh, that's hysterical. And it's true. And of course, they had a picture of Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy. And it's like, I don't get it. I don't understand. I mean, you expose, like Susanna Gibson, she actually did lose very narrowly, but because of her porn. But I mean, it's crazy.
I haven't seen it.
I'm not going out of my way to look for it.
I'm not looking.
But I don't get it. Like, what's wrong with Virginia?
Yeah. God.
Hey, she's not the first porno. She's not the first porn purveyor to run for some kind of major office. Remember Mary Carey when she ran for governor of California during that recall election?
So I have a name to bring up. I want to think about Ronna McDaniel.
Ronna, was she in porn?
I hope not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, quite the OnlyFans page. Just saying. Maybe you should think about that.
Oh, don't.
Some old, some mommy stuff.
That's so gross.
That'll really boost my acting career. Yeah. Oh my God.
Elizabeth, you brought up something very important, though. The Democrats are patting themselves on the back over these elections and these wins.
Yeah.
Let's go over some of them. All right, Virginia. Yeah. Virginia's a weird state because a lot of the populated areas are filled with blueies, and
in Northern Virginia, around DC. Yeah.
So that's gonna happen with the House, and I understand that. Let's go to Kentucky. They're making a big deal out of Kentucky, but the governor there is popular. Maybe he's a Democrat, but he was popular, and he replaced a guy who just wasn't so popular. You can have a Democrat governor in a red state if he does a good job. What the misconception about Republican voters and Trump voters versus your typical or your let's just say your loudmouth Democrat voter you find on Twitter is that the Democrats are looking for somebody they can look up to and put on a pedestal, while on the Make America Great site, if you will, they're looking to hire somebody to do a job. And if that person happened to be a Democrat that he was doing a decent job for 4 years in Kentucky, they're not going to fire him.
No.
Mhm.
Oh, well, look, Larry, what's his name up in Maryland got to.
Oh yeah, Larry Hogan.
Larry Hogan.
Yeah,
I talked to
Hogan.
Larry.
Yeah, Hogan.
Larry got
Oh,
two
yeah.
in a blue state, so it does happen. But let's go back to Elizabeth's point here, and I want to address this to the Colonel too.
An
Yeah.
addiction to losing.
What's up with the fact that anybody who votes blue right now, I think has to be crazy. And
I agree.
Because, well, look at the economy. I mean, we just talked about the economy. We talked about
Yeah.
how is it that the Democrats were so much able? And look, Youngkin is not a MAGA guy. Youngkin is a governor, kind of a middle. You know, he's done a few things.
I think he's a decent guy, but yeah, just.
So
yeah,
what do
he's
you
not-
all make? What do you make of Virginia kind of being spastic? Is that a good term?
A few
Can I use
things.
that?
So I have a few thoughts on that.
Yeah.
First off, where was Ronald McDaniel with the money? Right. And I've heard that I've seen
OnlyFans.
seen some. Well, it's the only thing she should be making more to give the
That's what I'm
Republicans
saying.
then, okay?
That's what I'm saying.
But how come the money didn't go down to the Republicans in Virginia?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know the story there, but I haven't met Ronna. But you know, as chair of the Republican Party, she should be the NRC. She should be bringing money to candidates.
That's right.
The second one are the issues. You know, abortion's a big issue for the Republican
Yes.
Party.
It's front and
Right.
center, but seems like everybody's shying away from it. Nobody's willing to talk about it clearly.
Well, I mean, now it's a state issue. I mean,
Right.
we did the right thing, and the Supreme Court decided not to have it down to a bunch of unelected court members, so they gave it back to the people.
Right.
So it belongs to the people where it should have always been. So that's a people's issue, and I think Republicans were foolish not to, to say that's. I mean, that's what it is, right? And I think that a lot of the blue voters. We're voting on that, but you also have a lot of folks who were uninformed. I think a lot of blue voters are uninformed. They're not necessarily seeing they don't understand just how much the illegal immigration and the oil prices and the constant war have tied us to the inflationary issues that everyone's facing right now.
Yeah.
I'm a little stunned by it. There are folks who do not tie the fact that they have no disposable income now and that they're living paycheck to paycheck. That's over 60% of Americans, right? They don't tie that to Biden. And we just have to educate them. We have to find different ways that I think Republicans normally use. You're not watching Fox News to tell people about that. They've got to find new venues to educate Democrat voters that they're losing out big time.
Well, two things.
Yeah,
on that
I
real
agree.
quick.
Yeah.
So I remember back in 2000, when was Obama elected? 2008.
Yeah.
I remember seeing people with Obama 2008 stickers driving the same S box 8 years later. It's like,
Right.
did you not figure that maybe you would get prosperity? Oh no, we need to do all these social things. Like, oh my God, it's just they are so committed to this idea.
Fundamental
That,
transformation is what Obama
yeah,
said.
it's like
We need to fundamentally transform America.
You're driving a 1998 Honda that's got rust and 2 cylinders not working, and you think that somehow and so to your point, Elizabeth, they kind of go to the same bad sources of news, which reinforce their.
That's what I'm worried about, because so many people, they can't afford cable, or a lot of people aren't able to watch Newsmax or The First. I mean, Epoch Times is a great source of information, but I think so many people just turn on the main channels and they listen to the crap, Lester Holt and all that crap, and they just don't know any better. It's like, you gotta have the desire to dig deeper to really get more information, because if you only listen to the mainstream, you're going to listen to all the left-wing crap, and you're going to believe them when they say, oh, Trump hates America, Trump hates blacks, Trump's a homophobe. Like, no, none of that is true. Yeah, the Republican, like you said, what the Democrats put a friendly face on their stupid decisions. You said that earlier. It's like, that is a great point. Oh, but we just care about people. That's why we let millions of illegals into the country, because we care about people. And we have to educate people. We have to find different ways to educate people.
No, and they go to Lawrence O'Donnell and that other guy, Rachel Maddow, for their news.
Yeah, that guy, Rachel Maddow.
Or Stephen Colbert. Again,
Stephen Colbert.
I'm not going to dignify him by pronouncing it the way he wants us to.
Yeah,
it's Stephen Colbert.
Right.
He's the prime example of, just because you put glasses on doesn't mean you're smarter than anybody else. Okay, that's all. And I will,
Exactly.
and you bring up Lester Holt. That's another one. I do. What people don't realize is Lester Holt's not his real name. His last name is Nessman, and Holt is a stage name, so he's really Les Nessman.
Related to Nets?
Is he a Les
Nessman? I
Les
had no
Ne-
idea.
No, I am.
Les Nessman.
To me, he's Les
WPRP.
Nessman.
You guys,
Remember
last week,
WPRP?
Yes, more music and
last
Les
week, Rob.
Nessman.
when we're talking about, speaking of music, we were talking about Secretary of State Tony Blinken doing rock and roll for international rock and roll. And his college remember his college nickname, Spanky Banana? I thought that was that's a great nickname. I don't care who you are. That's a great
where you sat on.
Wasn't he in that band with Robert Francis O'Rourke?
Robert
What?
Francis.
Beto
Yeah,
O'Rourke?
Beto.
Oh,
Beto. I
This is-
don't know.
A weirdo.
Yes.
Really weird.
Man, you're going to get me in trouble by saying something I'm not supposed to with the candidate here. So you can
Oh.
step
Yeah.
away from the microphone.
Ooh,
I will step backward here.
I have a question. Where can I get one of your really cool red T-shirts?
Oh, that's a great point. Yes. Where can you get it?
Send you
I
one.
like it.
Text you. We'll send you one.
But so tell us about the website, which we should have done it already.
Yes.
Okay, so www. Laurie Laurie Buckhout, and that's with an H in it. BUCKHOUT for Congress, all one phrase.
Yeah.
.com, and I'd love to have you visit that site. So that'd be great.
That's a great site.
I'm also on Twitter, Laurie Buckhout. I'm also on Facebook, Laurie Buckhout. So I'm also on Insta, Laurie Buckhout NC, I think. So yeah, we are all over the place.
And we'll have this listed under the thing too. All that
Yeah.
stuff. Right, Chris?
There it is.
Links in description, if you will.
Links in description.
Yeah, you
That's
go.
right.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, we got it.
All
I
right.
got it.
You
I
got
guess
it?
I can tell you it's about that time again.
It is
time.
that time. I was
It is.
anticipating.
This is my
I was-
favorite part of the show because we
I was waiting with bated breath.
yeah, I love this part of the show. It's Tony's Takes. It's sponsored by powered. I like that word better. Powered by Sig Sauer. Never settle. And I like this because we get Tony's Takes, his hot takes on all the cool stuff happening in America.
Watch these.
Yeah. Here's something for you. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. She's been censored by the House due to the outspoken anti-Israel and pro-Hamas stances. On the one hand, it's nice not to hear that shrill, aggravating voice on the floor too often anymore. On the other hand, though, in my opinion, okay, I'd say I'd have a problem with violating anybody's free speech because I prefer us all having free speech in these venues, and we get to hear what people really think about things and consider that in the voting booth the next time around. Tony, what's your take?
So my take is he should be put in charge of the effort to move FBI out of Northern Virginia, which is a real thing, and I think she could help move the FBI and herself to Cuba, where they I think would be much happier with the free speech they get. What do you think?
Mhm.
Any
If she's so much for free speech and she's so anti-Israel, we should help her pack up and move back to whatever country she's originally from. Move back to the Middle East and help those terrorists because I'm sure they would love to have you as their spokesperson.
Oh, they're always great with women over there, especially
Yes.
Hamas. So
Oh, they love women. Yeah.
you know, speaking out and offering support to terrorism is actually against U.S. code. So she is violating U.S. code in what she's doing. So, it's something to laugh about, but it's definitely not. I mean, she's pursuing, they should be pursuing criminal charges against her.
But part of the deal is for that society is that women are treated as less than a man.
That's right.
Especially in the most extreme versions of Sharia.
That was my sarcasm.
So
Yeah.
I find it baffling that a woman who is supposedly successful, I guess most people would argue, you're going for Congress. That's going to be that's something to do, something to seek.
Don't compare me to her.
Well, I'm not. I'm only comparing. Laurie Buckhout is no Rashida Tlaib. I'm saying, yeah. But my point is that she actually sought and achieved office, but somehow in her own society, if she actually practiced what she preaches, which is she preaches hate, just saying, she would be a citizen, right? I mean, she'd have to walk 2 paces before a man,
right?
All that.
I'm going to give you a quick vignette.
Yeah.
When I was in Iraq, the local Iraqis had to call me sir in order to get past their antipathy towards any kind of woman in leadership. Wow. They had to call me sir. They did. So yes, sir. And they treated me like a man. That they could deal with. But very quickly, though.
They call Tlaib sir, but for different reasons.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I wonder, has she thought about becoming a transitional person? Just thinking. I don't know. Thinking out loud.
Look,
Spitball.
the thing
That's
about
how
the
Mossy
squad,
too.
the thing about the squad types is they're in it for themselves nowadays. They like
Oh,
the
absolutely.
attention. They like the idea of becoming Twitter stars, and that gets them elected. That brings money in, and
Mhm.
that's what's happening right now. I sometimes don't think these people believe half the things they're spouting out. It just brings them the camera, it brings them attention, and it brings them money.
Right. I agree. Yeah. More followers on Twitter or TikTok or whatever the hell. Yeah.
Oh, TikTok. You know what? I tell you, that is a very dangerous app for
I don't have
America's
TikTok.
youth. Oh, I don't either. Who would? If
I don't
you
have TikTok,
Nikki
but yeah,
Haley's daughter.
that's one of the worst. Mm.
All right, I do want to get to a sadder story, a more, let's just say, a heartbreaking one, if you will.
Mhm.
I was watching this on the internet, and it really
Oh.
saddened me. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky is now begging for attention and money on social media. It's sad to see it's come down to this, but was this man not in over his head from the beginning? Seriously, what's your take, Tony?
So I think high heels has their limitations. Just saying, and
Mm.
if you're wearing them, it doesn't get you very far. And I think Zelensky found that out. But beyond that, where is Jerry Lewis and his telethon? If he wanted billions, like just bring Jerry Lewis over and do a dialing for dollars for Ukraine.
I think he's dead.
Get your old high heels out and do some dancing, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Maybe people want to see his legs and tights. I don't know. Would you want to see Zelensky in tights and high heels? I would, but I wouldn't pay
No.
for it. But I would see it.
No.
So,
I would not, and I wouldn't pay for it.
but yeah,
Yeah,
did you
why-
see that? Did you see
Oh,
him?
yeah.
Why is he
See,
begging for money?
Millions now, we'll pay you back later. It's like, yeah, give me an M1 and Abrams today, and I'll pay you on Tuesday.
We desperately need accountability of all those actors. We desperately need accountability, and I mean that's what people I think object to the most. Those of us who are Cold Warriors and seen the Soviet Union up close, we know what it's like. And honestly, I feel for those people over there. But when you have no accountability and you have a nation with a long history of corruption, it's very difficult for people to trust that. It really is.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So I think that's what we all agree upon as part of this, is that the complete lack of accountability. Remember last year? No, it was this year. The Republicans voted for an amendment to the funding bill that called for accounting of all the money. It's like, oh no, we don't want that. We don't want that. Why would we want accounting? Why spend any money on accounting for the money that's being wasted? Why do that?
Imagine transparency. Wow. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Transparency.
Let's have a little fun now, since we have Colonel Buckhout here. Let's sway a little bit with Tony's takes from the issues of the day. I've always wanted to ask you this, and I've been sitting here on this for maybe, I don't know, Elizabeth, you know how many weeks or months I've been sitting on this one. Best Star Trek captain.
Oh, the best Star Trek captain. That's right.
What's your take?
Who do you think?
Well, so I have my thoughts on this, because I actually like some of the nuance of Jean-Luc Picard. I do. As a matter of fact, the Halloween costume party got canceled here, but I was going to go in the Jean-Luc Picard last season uniform with the gray tunic, but because of Nightmare at 20,000 feet, was that the movie, the series?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
I got to go with Bill Shatner and Captain Kirk. And I, by the way, I love Avery Brooks. I loved Avery on Spencer for Hire as Hawk. Love him. But and Janeway's cool, but she was better in Orange Is the New Black. Just saying.
Yeah,
So, but
I still think William Shatner is the best. Yeah.
Well, sort of almost a camp quality to it, that when you look back at it now, it's like, oh man, fighting with those 60s Hollywood sci-fi monsters, that was great stuff.
That's hysterical.
He also got all the babes. That's the other thing. Kirk got all the babes. So it goes like this for me. It goes Kirk, for me, it goes Kirk, Archer, Cisco, and everybody else can fall behind after that. And Archer's good because Scott Bakula rules, and there was no prime objective, so it made him cool.
He was cool.
But they cut that series off prematurely. It was like premature. premature enterprisation.
UPN had its troubles. I mean, Love Boat, The Next Wave, Homeboys in Outer Space. Those were classics, and they should never have canceled those.
Homeboys in Outer Space.
Are you going to ask me who my favorite doctor is next time for Doctor Who? And one of our surprise.
I think we're going to do that. Maybe. I like that idea. The other thing is,
it's not Miss Whitaker. Just saying.
Right. And notice that the Star Trek Discovery captain, I even know her name, did not appear on any of our lists. But I will say this: the worst Star Trek Discovery killed themselves in the entire franchise by making Stacey, what's her name? Stacey. I always forget that woman's election denier, Stacey
Abrams.
Abrams. That's it. As the president of the world.
Ooh. She would just hate everybody.
So we need to have Doomcock back on, don't we, Chris? Because Doomcock's been cracking.
Yeah.
For those in the audience, I'm friends with Dictor Van Doomcock, future ruler of Earth, who tracks all this stuff. So
I want to hear more.
He's cool. He's a cool dude.
Funny.
One thing I want to add about Cisco. One thing I want to add about Cisco is he's cool. He's number 2 on the list because he punched Q.
That's true. I met John Delancey, and he's just fine. He's fine in real life. He didn't get damaged. So. No, I do. I've got a signed picture upstairs. If we could go upstairs, but we're not.
Oh, so. For real, cool.
I do. For reals.
For real.
So, all right. So I see you threw a curve to the colonel here. You put her in a position where she's having to actually pick a captain who has great significance. So, who is it, Laurie? Who is your favorite captain?
You know what? I have to go to the original James T.
So it is Captain Kirk.
But I have to tell you, though, I was looking this guy up. My new favorite Spock is Zachary Quinto. It is. He is. He's my new favorite Spock. I thought he was very, very good. So love the old one with this special.
But he never sang "If I Had a Hammer."
What is that thing with Bilbo Baggins? That's a great song. Bilbo Baggins. I'm really. Who would have thought that Spock loved elves? I mean, elves on the. Right?
It's going off the rails here.
Do you think we could do Bilbo Baggins as bumper music? I hate to insult Cherie, but
no, stick with Cherie.
If I can get Leonard Nimoy talking about Bilbo Baggins instead of Cherie, I think that's the deal we got to take, right?
What does he have? 5 or 6 albums.
That's right. So, we got to go. It's been another hour of education and hilarity here on The Hard Truth. And we've been joined by Colonel Laurie Buckhout of running for the 1st District of North Carolina. So tell us again how to find you, Laurie. What's your website?
So it's www. Laurie, Laurie, Buckhout, Buckhout, forcongress.com.
And so we'll be seeing more of her one way or another, no matter what happens.
Yes,
I think she would enjoy coming back with us. I'd like to believe
so. I love the show.
That's right.
Crashing the show. Baby.
Literally, she'll crash into my garage if nothing else. So that's right. That's right. It's good to be defensive. Defensive drivers are the best. And if you're driving fast,
offensive.
That's right. There you go. So anyway, that's it for The Hard Truth. We've been joined by the ever illustrious Elizabeth Breckenkamp, the ever witty and corny, both in the best possible way, Chris Verdani. And we'll be back next week again with The Hard Truth, and we'll see you then.